Breakfast on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
It's 10 minutes before 8. We'll come back to the concerns you're expressing about what we understand will be the delay of lockdown in a moment. But let's turn to someone who's going to be far better informed than I. I speak of Conservative MP and Health Minister Ed Argar, and I know you wouldn't want to steal the Prime Minister's thunder, but there seems to be a lot of preparation in the newspapers today, Minister. We are looking at a continuance of 4 weeks. Is that right? Good morning.
Morning, Nick. Nice to see you. You're absolutely right. I'm not going to preempt what the Prime Minister is going to say later, but what I will say is what he's been doing yesterday, over the weekend, and indeed today, is weighing up all the facts. I think he, like I, would love to see all the restrictions removed as soon as it was safe and possible to do so, but he's also got to look at the impact of the Delta variant on infection rates, on hospitalisation rates, and where we are with the vaccine programme. So I'm not going to preempt what he's going to say, but he's going to have to weigh up a number of very difficult factors in reaching that decision.
Well, we all wait with bated breath. Let's hear a couple of moments from the Prime Minister in the recent 12 months. July last year.
It is my strong and sincere hope that we will be able to review the outstanding restrictions and allow a more significant return to normality from November at the earliest, possibly in time for Christmas.
There we are. We were all told we could look at Christmas last year. And then November last year.
I really am assured now that things will look and feel very different indeed after Easter. But with luck and with hard work, we will be seeing improvements before then.
With this shambolic approach, why should my listeners believe a word that comes from his mouth later today, Minister?
Well, I think, Nick, if you listen to what you played in that second clip there, since Easter, we have seen very significant improvements in the situation, and we continue to see that. The key that has changed this has been since December, I should say, we've got vaccinations into people's arms. That is what has fundamentally changed the nature of how we tackle this pandemic, how dangerous it is, and it's severing, and we can perhaps talk about the numbers later if you want to, but it's severing that connection between people getting the disease, and I think I'm of the view this will become something that is endemic. We will have to learn to live with COVID being around. Zero COVID is not a realistic or practical proposition, but what the vaccine does is it severs that link between getting the disease and ending up severely ill in hospital or sadly in some cases dying from this disease. That's the key, and that's why the vaccine rollout is so important. And we've made huge progress with that, and that's why I'm hopeful as we continue to get those second jabs in people's arms, and that's really important, that we will see an easing of restrictions very, very soon.
You talked about the Prime Minister working hard over the weekend, and I'm sure he did. He also attended a barbecue with other world leaders and other guests and support teams. It's believed that there were between 38 and 40 people there. How come they can break the rules?
Well, I understand. I wasn't there. I'm not important enough to have been at the G7, Nick.
Neither am I.
But my
One
understanding...
day you might be. It's never going to come my way. So I ask again,
Well,
why?
I don't know.
30. Well,
I don't know,
I'm
Nick.
sure they will. The way you're batting this morning, you're doing a good job. How come they can disrespect the rules, but I can't?
To your very serious point there, I understand from the Foreign Secretary yesterday, he said that he understood it was COVID secure and that the numbers were in line with that. I haven't seen the pictures in my papers this morning as to whether it was or wasn't. My personal view is it's very important that everyone sticks to the rules. While that was a hugely important global summit, it's important we all set an example, we all stick to the rules. My understanding for the Foreign Secretary is he said it was COVID secure, and I have no reason not to agree with that.
Oh, it's a shame you haven't had an opportunity to see the pictures. I assure you, when you look at the pictures, I don't recognise that as being COVID secure. And I have listeners ringing me up. They're trying to plan weddings, 90 people in an open-air party afterwards that can actually take 350 people. They can't go ahead with that, but the Prime Minister can have a jolly barbecue. And you're going to say that it was socially distanced. Just look at the pictures. It's a very bad look, isn't it, Minister?
Well, I will certainly look at the pictures, Nick. And I take your point about how people will feel. Last year I lost a very close relative, and the funeral had to be limited in numbers, social distance at the crematorium afterwards. So I can entirely understand how people seeing life events like that restricted, how people want to know that everyone else is sticking to the rules. As I say, I will certainly look at the papers when I finish doing my round this morning. The Foreign Secretary, as I say, has been clear that it was COVID secure. But you also touched there on weddings, and I know that there will be a lot of people today who have probably had to postpone their wedding more than once. and who will be very anxiously awaiting whatever it is that the Prime Minister announces later. And all I would say on that is I know that he is very sensitive to that situation they find themselves in. I'm not going to preempt anything he might say, but I know that will be one of the things he's considered very carefully.
Ah, OK. So what about theatres as well? Am I going to see Lord Lloyd Webber arrested?
I very much hope not. I very much enjoy Lord Lloyd Webber's music. I hope he will stick to the rules, and I hope that we will see our flourishing West End theatres, and theatres indeed around the country, up and running as soon as it is possible to do so. You know, I used to be, before I was an MP, a Westminster councillor, so I know the value of our theatres and the West End.
They're not flourishing, respectfully, Minister. They're anything but flourishing, those theatres. And
that's why I'd like to see them flourishing once again.
Some might never bloom again if we're not careful. So are we going to hear something on Theatreland today?
I suspect, and you tempt me, Nick, in as you always do, to go a little bit further. I'm not going to preempt what the PM will say, but I know they are the sort of things, theatres, the hospitality industry, those businesses that have been particularly affected by this final stage in the restrictions and weddings. I know that they will be very much on the Prime Minister's mind at the moment as he makes that decision.
Football yesterday, Minister. The good news is that the booers were virtually drowned out by the cheerers and the applauders, if there is such a word, as England took the knee. So hopefully the war is being won. Should any action be taken against those who boo when the England team take the knee?
Well, my personal view is one of the great strengths of this country is freedom of speech and expression. If people want to take the knee as their way of making a protest, that's entirely appropriate. We live in a liberal democracy. If that's how they want to express themselves, they should be able to do so. For my money, yesterday afternoon, apart from, as ever, when I know I'm coming on your show and doing the media round, apart from doing my prep, I was cheering us on to victory. And I was also, I have to say, not only is that fantastic for our country, but I was also encouraged to see that I gather Christian Eriksen is well on the way to making a recovery, and we all wish him well after what happened to him as well.
I think we agree on that. Lastly, do we wish Theresa May well? You might be aware that she's going to be put forward as possibly the chief of NATO. This is, of course, a woman whose most exciting thing she's ever done is run through a field of wheat, struggles to give a speech without a packet of lockets in her hand, and her dancing makes me look like MC Hammer. Is she the woman to run NATO, Minister?
Well, I've heard the speculation on this. It won't surprise you to know, Nick. I think your characterisation, whilst typically pithy, is a little harsh. I've known Theresa for a very long time. She is a woman of immense qualities, immense dedication to public service, and immense ability. Were she to be put forward for this, I think she would do an excellent job.
Why?
Were she to get that job?
What makes you say that? I'm sure she's very diligent, but of course she was the woman who managed to effectively lose her majority with her timing. Would you want her running NATO?
I think her background in security, she was Home Secretary, remember, for many years, and a highly effective one. I think her understanding of security, her understanding of the international scene, and the relationships across the international scene would make her a very strong candidate.
Always enjoy our conversations. Thank you, Conservative MP and Health Minister Ed Argar, appearing here on LBC. Well, we'll give you news in just a minute. Let's get one more call in on the roadmap. Jenny in Godstone, you want to talk about weddings as well. Is this for your daughter?
Yes, good morning.
Hello. What was planned or is planned?
Right. What was planned was for my daughter to be married at Tregenna Castle in St Ives, where the G Summit was held.
Really? Not the same place?
Exactly the
Oh
same
my God!
place.